Madam President, before I begin, let me just say how thankful I am that Senator Dodd has worked with us to get my amendment to a vote. I know how hard he's been working on this bill and how precious floor time is during this debate. Madam President, last week I proposed an amendment with Senator Schumer, Bill Nelson, and Bill Nelson to reform our nation's credit rating industry. Today I'm thrilled to announce that Senators Grassley, Kaufman, Durbin, Harkin, Klobuchar, Levin, Wyden, and Begich have joined my amendment as co-sponsors. Senator Grassley, of course, is the ranking member of the Finance Committee and a senior member of the Budget Committee. Senator Levin led the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, which revealed some of the credit rating industry's worst abuses. Senator Kaufman has also been a leading critic of the rating agencies, pointing out how these agencies kept AAA ratings, quote, rolling off the assembly line, despite consistent and increasing indications that they were totally unwarranted. And Senators Durbin, Harkin, and Klobuchar have long established themselves as strong voices on behalf of consumers. Over 20 of my colleagues have now co-sponsored my amendment, including senior members of the Senate Finance and Banking Committees. Since I have filed this amendment, I've come to the floor several times to explain the different aspects of it. Now that this amendment is up for, or will be up for a vote, I want to step back and summarize it. I want to underscore the scope of this problem, and I want to explain how this amendment is a simple, investor-based solution to the problem. Here it is in a nutshell. There is a staggering conflict of interest affecting the credit rating industry. The way it works now, issuers of securities are paying for the credit ratings. They shop around for their ratings, selecting those agencies that tend to offer them the best ratings and threatening to stay away from rating agencies that are too tough on them. And because of this, the credit rating agencies are issuing ratings that are orders of magnitude higher than they should be. We know this from the record, and we know this from the PSI release of emails that this was the case. This conflict of interest has cost American investors and pensioners billions of dollars because supposedly risk-free investments have failed or been downgraded to junk status. My amendment will correct that conflict of interest by having an independent third party assign the credit rating agency that conducts the initial rating for newly issued complex financial products. My amendment puts investors in charge, not the government. Well, let's take this from the top. Right now, when a bank issues a product, it gets a credit rating, it gets a couple credit ratings before they sell their product. But the problem is that they don't get the rating from an independent agency. They don't get them from someone who has a real interest in being accurate. Rather, issuing banks currently get their credit ratings from rating agencies that they hire. They hire them, and they pay them upwards of $1 million per transaction. Now, you don't have to be Adam Smith to guess what's happened here. As with any other financial transaction, the issuers, the buyers of credit ratings, shopped around for the ratings. And when they go to a credit rating agency and the credit rating agency didn't give them the rating they wanted, they wouldn't hire them the next time. So the credit rating agencies responded in kind. They changed their algorithms for rating the products when the ratings they produced were too low, and thus repeatedly overrated terrible securities. Now, this isn't a hypothetical. The Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, Senator Levin's committee, uncovered pages upon pages of emails confirming that this is exactly what happened. But I think the numbers explain it the best. And everyone, we know this. Of all the subprime mortgage-backed securities issued in 2006 and 2007 that received a AAA rating, over 90% have since been downgraded to junk status. Now, credit ratings will counter that the downgrading of AAA bonds to junk status occurred because of the unpredictable collapse of the housing market. 2 points here. The PSI memos, the emails that were released, showed that the credit rating agency knew what was happening. Here's an email in 2006. This is from one of the Standard & Poor's executives. This is like another banking crisis potentially looming. There's an executive who said that wish they could go public with loss figures they were seeing. This is in 2006, and said it may be too much of a powder keg. And there's emails where they're saying we better increase our credit, the ratings, so we keep getting business. Now, these were the guys who got it. Admittedly, there were guys who didn't get it in the credit rating agencies, but there's an old Upton Sinclair quote, which is, you can't get a man to understand something that his salary depends on him not understanding. So because of the inherent conflict of interest, which is if I give a good rating to these subprime mortgage-backed securities, I'm going to make a lot of money. There's a lot of money here. My salary depends on my not getting what's happening. And that all emanates from the conflict of interest. That's what I'm going after here. That's why they either ignored what they were seeing in 2006, or if they got it, they didn't say anything about it. So some were maybe less than completely getting it, and others who got it were corrupt. And it was all for the same reason, because of this conflict of interest. Now, these downgrades didn't just result in major losses to Wall Street. They resulted in multi-billion-dollar losses to millions of Americans, especially pension holders. CalPERS, which 1.5 million Californians rely on for their pensions, and health benefits lost $1 billion. Pensioners in Ohio lost $500 million. Same stories repeated all across the country. This was people's retirement money. This wasn't people buying yachts. This was staying the night at the Waldorf. This is their retirement money. So it was the problem, the conflict of interest. Now, let me tell you how our amendment addresses this problem. My amendment would call for a new clearinghouse regulated by the SEC to assign issuers to a credit rating agency that will give them their first rating on complex financial products. They'd be assigned. That means that an issuer will no longer be able to shop around for a rating and won't be able to pressure a rating agency into giving a good score in exchange for future business. Over time, the clearinghouse will monitor the ratings that these agencies give out and refine its method of assignments. It can reward agencies that are more accurate and give fewer assignments to those that are less accurate. It will incentivize accuracy. Imagine that. In doing so, it'll give smaller agencies a chance to get into the action. Standard & Poor's, Moody, and Fitch did about 94% of the business. The other agencies will get a chance because what will be rewarded is accuracy. By making these simple changes, and it's a very simple change, it's a third party, the amendment will eliminate the fundamental conflict of interest at the core of this problem. Now, some people are going to tell you that this is a government takeover of the credit rating industries. That is patently 100% false. The clearinghouse will not issue a single rating. The clearinghouse isn't going to tell credit rating agencies how to determine their ratings. In fact, every single rating that an agency gives after being assigned a security will have a disclaimer that says this is not a government-approved rating. Moreover, the clearinghouse will be run by investors, like managers of pension funds and managers of university endowments. Okay? There is not a single seat on this board that would be reserved for a government official. Moreover, while the initial board members are to be named by the SEC, after the initial appointments, the board itself will choose its future members. There will be a representative from the rating agencies, there will be a representative from the banks, but a majority will be investors. Now, this makes sense. We'll be putting the people in charge where the people are actually buying the securities and who pay the price when the securities prove to be significantly overrated. So let me repeat that. We're putting the buyers of securities, not the government, in charge, okay? The clearinghouse will be an independent, self-regulatory organization that operates with oversight from the SEC, just like the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or FINRA. Finally, this board won't act as an intermediary for every credit rating issued. It will only assign an agency to do the initial rating, the first rating that an issuer receives. The issuer is then free to seek as many other credit ratings as it wants from whoever it wants, as most issuers currently do. I am merely proposing that at least one rating, and the initial rating, from an issuer be free from the conflicts of interest inherent in an issuer pays system. This initial rating will then serve as a check against any possible inflation in subsequent ratings. Now, you may also have heard that there are alternatives proposals that would eliminate any requirement of reliance upon a credit rating issued by an NSRO. Senator Lemieux, my good colleague from Florida, will be offering a side-by-side on this amendment. Now, my only problem with this is that this approach ignores the reality that ratings will, by necessity, just continue and will always play a role in our economy. Investors will still rely on them, even if the statutes don't mandate it. And Senator Lemieux's approach does absolutely nothing to tackle the conflicts of interest or address the current oligopoly, I believe, both of which would surely persist under this approach, especially the conflict of interest. So there's nothing in Senator Lemieux's approach that I understand is contradictory at all to what I'm doing. And so if a member would like to vote for Senator Lemieux side by side, it would be fine. And you have to determine for yourself the value of that. I am just saying that it doesn't get at the heart of the matter, which is the conflict of interest, the issuer actually paying the rating agency for the rating. Now, with the help of Senator Schumer and Nelson, I have crafted a measure that isn't liberal or conservative. It isn't moderate. It's not on any spectrum. It just makes sense. It's common sense. This is like the solving of venue, forum shopping in courts. It's an elegant solution. And I can say that because I didn't think of it. This is some professors in academia who thought of it, and I guess the chief economist at Patton Boggs. I mean, it's just a simple, elegant idea. That's why, so it isn't conservative, it isn't liberal, it's just common sense. And that's why Senator Wicker has embraced this, Senator Grassley has embraced this amendment. It's just plain common sense. And that's why Senators Levin and Johnson and Murray and Durbin and Whitehouse and Brown and Merkley and Bingaman and Lautenberg and Shaheen, Casey, Sanders, Kaufman, Harkin, Klobuchar, Wyden, and Begich also support the amendment. And that's why Americans for Financial Reform support it. That's why the Consumers Union supports it, the Teamsters, the National Association of Consumer Advocates, Public Citizen, SEIU, and a number of other national organizations stand behind this amendment. And that's why, as I said, leading economists in academia and private industry support this amendment. In fact, as I was saying, the chief economist at Patton Boggs, Dr. David Rayboy, who first developed a similar proposal, is squarely behind this. Of course, he developed it. And that's why independent, smaller rating agencies have come out in support of this amendment, and that's why this amendment cannot wait. I urge colleagues on both sides of the aisle to vote in favor of this amendment. I thank Madam President, and I believe my good colleague from Florida who has the side-by-side, which I say in no way conflicts, I don't believe, with this amendment, yield the floor to him.